So why would my dog choose to lay on the floor when she's got such a comfy... Oh, well, there's your problem. Hey guys, it's Dawn, back for another weekly revisions update. If you hear any babbling in the background, that's my daughter playing. We're at the park. I just thought it would be nice to film outside for once, although it is a little windy, so I hope that doesn't annoy everybody. I just want to start off the video by talking about what I've been reading lately. So it's actually what I've been listening to, their audiobooks, because I'm trying to use up our Audible credits and then cancel Audible because we don't really need it. But I got Guilty Pleasures by Laurel K. Hamilton. That's the first book in her just collection of books about Anita Blake, the vampire hunter. And it kind of been on a couple lists I had seen of urban fantasies you must read, and I had never read any of her work before. So I listened to the first book, Guilty Pleasures. I finished it last week, and then I used another credit to get the second book, The Laughing Corpse, and I'm almost finished with that one now. Super fun books, great if you enjoy urban fantasy. My only complaint was in the first book, I felt like the author, I think it was her debut book, and she's kind of growing into her own style, so she was really repetitive at times with like the sentence structures and descriptions she would use. Like the one example that drove me crazy was, instead of just saying that someone would smile, she would say like, he smiled, comma, a spreading of lips, but there'd be like an adjective before spreading, so like a cunning spreading of lips, sexy spreading of lips, and she just used that construction over and over again, and it drove me insane because it was just everywhere, and it just started to stick out like a sore thumb. But she dialed that back in the second book, and her style is much stronger. The plot of the first book was fun, but I actually think that the actual mystery is way better developed in the second book, because the first book, it felt like everything was just sort of handed to Anita, the main character, whereas this one, there's actual clues that we're following, and I feel like it's an actual true like detective fantasy novel. So big fan of that. Okay, I'm back. If you can't tell, I am due for a haircut. I'm looking a little crazy. But before I jump back into talking about what books I've been reading, what books I want to read, I wanted to show you guys something really quick. So today at Walmart, I found the cutest outfit for my daughter. So we got a little shirt here, just with the classic jack-o'-lantern face with the little bow. Very, very cute. And then to go with it, these little leggings. Aren't those adorable? They've got little jack-o'-lanterns and candy corn and stars. I think they're so adorable. Each piece was, I think, $5. So not terrible. I don't like buying clothes new because they're a little pricey, but they were just so cute. And on top of that, so fall is here, winter is approaching, so I thought it was time to get her another pair of boots, just a nicer pair, not snow boots or anything. And I found these at Walmart. Aren't those adorable? They've got like little buckle details, so cute. And obviously they're for little kids, so they zip up. The laces are just for show. But these are so cute. I love them. Anyways, I just wanted to share because it's an adorable outfit. So going back to books, I already talked about what audiobooks I've been listening to recently. So if you've been wanting to get into urban fantasy or you just want to read more urban fantasy, I do highly recommend Laurel K. Hamilton's Anita Blake Vampire Hunter series. Besides that, I read Battle Hymn of the Tiger Mother this last week. This is one of the books I picked up at a library sale within the last couple weeks. It was interesting. This is a book that was controversial when it came out. There was a lot of backlash just from American readers, and then interestingly enough, when it was translated into, I think, Mandarin, it had positive feedback from Chinese readers, so just very different perspectives and different reactions. I will admit the first 2/3 of this book made me really mad because just coming from a very, very Western perspective, a very American perspective. Even having what I consider strict parents growing up, I felt like she was very extreme in her parenting style. Oh, just as a reminder, this is a nonfiction. It's kind of a memoir, if that's a good way to describe it. But very interesting. I felt like she went through a lot of growth as a parent, and her daughters did as well, just in their relationships, mother-daughter relationships. So it was really interesting. I recommend it if you just are interested in parenting books and that sort of thing. Obviously, it's not a parenting manual. It's just her perspective. It's a memoir. It's not, you should do this or you shouldn't do this. It's just her presenting her experience. And as you can see, I still have piles and piles of books behind me that I need to get to. So trying to do a lot of reading. Sorry, I may have jostled the camera just then because I was grabbing my laptop. But last week I talked about my new critique partner, Evie Redding. So this week I have some more to report because, last week you saw I sent off my first chapter and I actually have feedback now, which was a crazy experience. Okay, so I emailed my first chapter to Evie last Tuesday, and the same day, so I'm looking at my email right now. So that same day, she emails me back and she says she's really excited to read it and she'll hopefully get to it by Sunday. So I'm like, okay, cool. I've got a timeline. Don't need to stress about this. Whatever. I'm good. But then I'm doing dishes that night after my daughter's gone to bed. My husband's just chilling. I'm doing some dishes, listening to my audiobook, and my phone buzzes. So I check the notification and it's an email from Evie. And so I start freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, she said she was going to read it by Sunday, but now she's emailing me again. Well, does that mean she's read it? So I dry my hands, open up this email, and it's so cute. The first line, she says, so I know I'm a bit wordy, just referencing that she already emailed me, but I got excited and read everything in one sitting. So already I was so nervous. I was like, either that means she really liked it or it was so bad that she's like, I just need to get this out here. But anyways, you guys know Evie. She's not a mean person, so obviously she didn't just roast my work. Her comments were just so helpful. So she did the same thing that I did for her, where she did one sustain, one improve, and then I think we called it overall impression. So obviously, the sustain isn't going to hurt my feelings because it's positive. So the improve, which I was most nervous to read, obviously, was so well put and just very kind, very constructive, very helpful. So it didn't hurt me in any way. It wasn't painful to read. And it was actually something that I looked at and I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is something that I can implement and that will strengthen my writing. So that was really awesome. And then she cracks me up even more because, let's see, so the next day, on Wednesday, she emailed me again with another comment, so another constructive criticism, which was also very helpful. So I'm like, oh, I see what you're saying. I know kind of what I need to do to fix the problem that she brought to light. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that even though I was terrified and it was nerve-wracking to open these emails with, critique and feedback in them, it was okay. It was not the end of the world, and I am super, super grateful that we decided to be critique partners. So she and I discussed doing one chapter per week for each other just to keep things manageable, and if that's too much, we can always shoot each other a message and say, hey, I'm going to take a little longer on this part or whatever. So I am going to send her my second chapter this week, possibly today. We'll see how things go because I've got a bunch of stuff going on today. But for whatever reason, I feel that my second chapter is better than my first chapter as far as how it's written and conceptually that it captures all of the things I wanted it to capture, whereas the first chapter is just missing a couple things that I'm still working on. So I'm not that scared to send the second chapter to her. I've also gotten good feedback on the second chapter from my friend that I've mentioned before. I've known her for years, and she's the one who has read my book from the very beginning when I first started writing it. So she's given me good feedback. My older sister has, so I'm not too scared about that. In other critique partner news, so I don't even know if we're officially critique partners or whatever, but Rebeccah Rodriguez and I have been emailing back and forth for a while, just, exchanging news week by week, having fun. And then, of course, we talk about our projects. So for a while now, she's been trying to like coax me into sending chapters to her of the network. And I think I mentioned it last week, but I decided to send not one, but two chapters for some reason to her. Although I guess the reason I sent the second chapter was because in the second chapter you're introduced to Fedir, whereas in the first chapter you're only introduced to Stas. An interesting fact, if you don't know, if you haven't read Fairy Tale by Rebeccah Rodriguez, here it is. The love interest of the main character's name is also, his name's Fyodor, which is the Russian version of Fedir, but the nickname is the same. It's Fedya. So they share the name, so it's been kind of special. We like laugh about it back and forth, how we have a character with the same name and everything. So I thought I would throw in the second chapter since she would appreciate meeting Fedya finally. So the way I shared the first two chapters with Rebeccah was actually in a Google Doc, and she asked me when she emailed about it if I wanted comments in the document or an email with, like a list of comments or whatever, and I told her to do what she wanted. So a couple nights ago, oh my gosh, I feel so silly looking back on this. A couple nights ago, I got a notification from Google Docs because I forgot that when somebody comments on a Google Doc of yours, they send you a notification. So I was getting live notifications as Rebeccah is in my Google Doc, like adding comments. And so I was freaking out. It was so much more stressful than Evie's critique, because Evie just sent it in an email. So I wasn't like getting live updates, if that makes sense. So like, not as stressful, but then I was just laying on the carpet in our family room and my husband was like on the armchair playing a game and I was just like, she hates it, I'll never write again, I need to throw my book away, and I was just moaning and being very dramatic, which is on brand for me. And Rebeccah and I have already talked about this. I'm not trying to make her feel bad, I just think it's hilarious that I am just really crazy and dramatic. But she put all her comments in, and I think she finished adding comments the next day. So I read some of the comments that night and was like, okay, not terrible so far. And then once she finished the comments, she put like a large comment with her overall thoughts at the end of the two chapters. And so I was able to read that. And oh my gosh, what a relief. Like, both with Evie's feedback and with Rebeccah's, like reading comments, even if some of them are not like glowingly positive, reading them and just remembering that like these are my friends, they want what's best for me, they care about helping me as a writer, it's not hateful, like it was good to remember that, but reading the positive comments, especially, I don't know if this will sound weird, especially the ones that agreed with my perceptions of my writing that I already had. For example, Evie complimented my ability to build tension and suspense in my first chapter, which is something I thought I had a good grasp on, but like I wasn't sure. So it was really nice to feel validated as a writer and to think, okay, I'm good enough at writing that I can recognize when I'm doing something right, if that makes sense at all. And then the most validating thing that Rebeccah told me, because she got two chapters whereas Evie only has one so far, I felt like my second chapter was really strong. I really loved it. I felt like I gave the readers a good opening impression of who Fedya is, help them get to know him and get to know like his motivations, his quirks, his personality, all that kind of stuff. And she confirmed that. She felt like of the two chapters, the second one is really strong because you are immediately invested in Fedya, and that's what I really want in that chapter. So I feel really good about that. I'm still like kind of in shock a little bit, and I still have lingering nervousness about continuing to share chapters both with Evie and with Rebeccah, just because it's hard, and I feel like as we get more comfortable with sharing our work with each other, we'll also loosen up a little bit with our criticism and be able to be a little more, not harsh,
I wouldn't say harsh is the right word, but be more honest and be more critical when we need to be. So I am nervous about that. It's hard to hear critical things, I'm not gonna lie. But I highly recommend getting a critique partner. It's a great experience. Just make sure you get the right one for you because not everybody works well together. So I am incredibly lucky to have Evie, as my official critique partner. And then I'm not sure what Rebeccah is because I'm not critiquing anything for her right now. So I don't know what title to give her, but she's also critiquing my stuff. So whatever, I overthink everything. Okay, that's all that I had to say in this video. It's been kind of a weird week because I felt like it was really productive as far as working with critique partners and kind of building those relationships and getting feedback on some of the stuff I have revised. But I've hit kind of a roadblock with my revisions just because I'm kind of burnt out and I just am ready for Preptober and National Novel Writing Month. So I've done a little bit in chapter 3, but not a lot. I'm sorry, guys, it's really lame, but it is what it is. And I'm excited for Preptober. So hopefully next week's video is going to be really fun and exciting, and I'll have a little more of my life back in me. All right, that is everything for this update. Let me know if you have any questions down in the comments. I feel like this video was kind of all over the place. I'm just having one of those days today where, I don't know, my train of thought is just kind of flowing in all directions. It's a very busy train yard. Thank you so much for watching this video. If for some reason you want to see more scatterbrained content from yours truly, be sure to hit the subscribe button. I hope you guys have an amazing week, and as always, happy writing. Bye.